Is A'ja Wilson having the best scoring season in WNBA history? Well, after she started donning plain white t-shirts to games a couple of weeks ago, she's been on an absolute tear. She's only about 100 points away from being the first player to score 1,000 points in a season, while also having the highest points per game season ever. With all the scoring records she's setting, it's a worthy question to tackle, but before we answer it, we must look at the ins and outs of her scoring game. As briefly mentioned in the Arike video, A'ja's shot diet mostly comes at the rim. Her ability to charge herself to the basket so frequently is in large part due to her quick first step. At 6'4", there aren't too many players her size with the ability to stay in front of her. Breanna Stewart gets absolutely blown by in isolation, and A'ja is able to finish easily with her left hand. And this quick first step has also helped her notch one of the highest free throw rates on record. Her 6.7 free throws per 36 minutes would be the 17th highest single season mark ever. In fact, only Angel McCoughtry, Cynthia Cooper, Diana Taurasi, and Elena Deladon have posted a higher free throw rate over a consecutive 3-year period than A'ja. You can see on this play that Kamilla Cardoso stands absolutely no chance against A'ja on an island, and she's able to blow by her for free throws. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus doesn't even attempt to close out to A'ja here, yet she's still able to blow by her from the 3-point line to get an easy 2. It's not the fastest first step ever, but it certainly makes her an outlier at the center position, where she can easily blow by defenders who give her space. To pile onto the incredible first step, A'ja is also remarkable at driving through contact. In my Angel Reese video, I showed how this is something she struggled with this season, but on this play, watch how A'ja takes this bump from Dearica Hamby and is still able to power through for the and-one finish. Also, notice she throws her head back to sell the call. It's the same story again on this play, powering through a Dorka Juhas armbar. She tilts her head back again here, and it's another and-one finish, southpaw style. And perhaps no play epitomizes her ability to drive through contact more than this one, where DT tries to nudge her out of bounds not once, but twice on this play, and she's still able to power through for the and-one. Her ability to finish through contact is just as impressive. A little armbar from Rebecca Allen is not enough to stop A'ja from getting off the jump hook and one. And this relentless slashing has made defenses so paranoid of giving her a step to the basket that it's allowed for her to unleash her lethal mid-range game. A'ja's averaging just under 6 mid-range shots a game on 46.5%, trailing only Nafisa Collier in percentage. Only A'ja's taking twice as many mid-rangers as Fee. When operating in isolation, one thing you'll notice about A'ja is how very few dribbles she uses to create space and score. Cardoso is so petrified of giving A'ja a step to the basket that a simple jab step is all that's needed for A'ja to rise up for an easy mid-ranger. A'ja absolutely had her way with Kamilla in this game, this time opting for a simple one dribble step back, and it's nothing but net. And one thing you'll notice about these plays is that A'ja loves operating around the free throw line, where she can observe the action in front of her, and it's another step back on Kamilla. A'ja is actually on pace to have the best mid-range shooting season in almost 15 years, when Simone Augustus shot a ludicrous 48% from the mid-range on 9 attempts per game back in 2010. Now, another subtle part of A'ja's scoring game is being able to create space with her body. She likes to lower her shoulder into the waist of a retreating defender to create space for her mid-range pull-up. You can see it again here, where she gets low to give herself a little bit of a cushion between her and AT, so she can just rise up in her sweet spot. This looks simple, but it actually requires great feel and balance. A'ja has the ability to turn over both shoulders in the post as well. She feels the defender put their arm on her back, which means it's go time for the fadeaway over her right. It's the same story for Tina Charles. A'ja feels the arm and she turns over the right shoulder for the baseline fadeaway. And if a defender cuts off her drive like Aaliyah Boston does here, then she can turn over her left shoulder too. On this play, we get a legendary homage to the great Hakeem Olajuwon with the Dream Shake fadeaway over her left shoulder, and it's wet like water.
Wet like water. Let's get it. Wet like water!
And this one's absolutely filthy. Watch how Asia's able to create all the space in the world with her back to the basket by dream shaking her defender into oblivion. Having the ability to shoot at different angles means her footwork is also amazing. Watch how Asia keeps her pivot foot down after faking Bree Jones with a gorgeous up through move for the and one. This type of footwork and balance takes a magnifying glass to really appreciate. Somehow Asia keeps her right pivot foot down after spinning almost 360 on this bump fadeaway, and she splashes it home for 2. All this scoring creativity inside the free throw line has made her an almost impossible guard. Now, Vegas likes to run away screens for Asia to curl from the corner to the free throw line. This allows for her to get some momentum downhill to either drive or create space for her shot. And so because teams are so paranoid to give up the layup, going under the screen means that teams are at the mercy of her lethal 47% mid-range. But if teams go over the screen, they will end up behind the play, and Asia can either drive or pull up on defenders, retreating with all their momentum. And this brings us to the last part of Asia's scoring ability that frankly isn't recognized at all, and that's her ability to score from a variety of different shot pockets. Notice how on this play, she doesn't lower the ball below her chin because her defender is hand checking her at the hip. Most shooters bring the ball down below their hip to shoot, but Asia doesn't need to, which is an extremely valuable skill to have when teams try to make her uncomfortable. This shot right here might be the most impressive. Watch where she shoots this after the offensive rebound, above her head and right off the catch. Asia's record 27 points per game has also given her arguably the most potent scoring gravity in the league. Brittany Griner doesn't want to leave Asia open at the free throw line here, which gives KP an easy runway for a layup. The same effect happens in zone, where BG creeps up a little bit near the free throw line to contain Asia, which allows for Tiffany Hayes to attack baseline without any shot blocker at the rim. So now that we've looked at her scoring game, where does this season rank amongst the greatest bucket getters ever? Well, Asia's 27.3 points per game is the highest mark since Diana Taurasi set the record back in 2006 when she averaged 25.3 points per game. During that season, DT played just under 34 minutes a night and shot 19.5 times per game, compared to Asia's 34.5 minutes on the same number of shots. This sounds like an easy apples to apples comparison, but we haven't accounted for the difference in pace yet. Because there are so many more possessions in a game now as opposed to back then, we have to put these players on an even scale by judging the rate at which they score the ball rather than how many raw points per game they score. Think of it like this. Taking 20 shots in a 70 possession game is not the same as taking 20 shots in a 100 possession game. There's simply more chances to score. That means if we looked at their per possession scoring rate, we'll use per 65 since that's the average number a superstar typically plays in a game, what we'll find is that A'ja Wilson still has the highest scoring rate on record at 26 points per 75, just ahead of Liz Cambazia's 25.2 back in 2018. This brings us closer to the answer, but we still haven't solved the issue of what is called stat inflation. Because offensive efficiency has improved almost exponentially since the league's inception, we know that 20 points in 2004 isn't the same as 20 points in 2024. The same way $100 20 years ago isn't the same as $100 now. So if we want to adjust every scoring rate in league history to 2024 numbers, we need to find the current league average offensive rating and divide it by the league average offensive rating during the specific year of each mega scoring season in WNBA history and multiply it by a player's scoring rate. It sounds a little confusing, but when we do this, we find that A'ja Wilson still has the highest adjusted scoring rate in WNBA history, just ahead of Lauren Jackson in 2007. So does this mean that A'ja is having the greatest scoring season ever? Well, we haven't adjusted for how efficient their scoring is. Because basketball is a game of limited scoring opportunities, we have to account for how efficient someone is scoring the ball. To do this, we'll need to look at each player's relative true shooting percentage. By using true shooting percentage, we are also accounting for free throws and scoring attempts as well, which actually benefits players like an A'ja who get to the line at a spectacular rate. By subtracting a player's true shooting from the league's average number during the year they played, we can now fairly compare scores across different eras. And so, when we plot all the greatest scoring seasons ever, the numbers look like this. These points represent all the mega scoring seasons since the league's inception, with the higher scoring rates to the right and the most efficient seasons to the top. The gold standard by this viewpoint is still Lauren Jackson in 2007, with Cynthia Cooper's 1997 season not too far behind. Now here's A'ja. As you can see, Wilson's season is first all-time in volume, but a considerable ways behind Jackson and Cooper in efficiency. Now the question of which is better, volume or efficiency, is one that is a fair debate to have, but when the volume difference is that small, it's hard to argue for A'ja's season in a vacuum, but since white t-shirt A'ja came into full effect, those 2-week numbers would probably be the greatest season numbers per this metric. In that time span, she's posting a scoring rate of 28.3, and her efficiency is up during that time. Still, the lingering question I have with A'ja is how much of her scoring actually translates to the playoffs, and the jury's still out on this latest version. Even though she's won back-to-back titles, her postseason numbers during those runs have dropped off a bit in volume, and even though it's not nearly enough to warrant fans and pundits to question her status as the league's best player, many of the W's greatest scores ever improve in the postseason. Overall, your criteria may vary, but for me, a player's value is about whether it can be maintained in the crucible of the playoffs, and how resilient they are to elite defenses that game plan to take away their advantages. Lauren Jackson's postseason scoring numbers actually fell off a decent bit in the playoffs, largely due to injury, so for now, I'm giving the best scoring year nod to 97 Cynthia Cooper, mainly because A'ja has yet to demonstrate that this year isn't just an outlier. But if she were to play like this in the playoffs, unparalleled volume and similar or even better efficiency while leading Vegas to elite offensive status, A'ja Wilson's 2024 may go down as the best scoring season of all time. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitter, where you'll be able to find articles that I post and be able to interact with me about the game more directly. In the comments, let me know where you would rank this scoring year from A'ja Wilson amongst the league's greatest peaks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.